a performance we're not used to seeing. So I don't know. I mean, we expect that type of contribution from him. We just didn't get it this game, and it's crucial when you're playing a squad like Chelsea, especially when they're stacking three at the back. You need to draw them out wide, and you need to make sure that your crosses are hitting its target, and it just didn't happen for him. And yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a disappointing performance, but I don't want to, start rallying behind Kyle Walker-Peters because look, Tripps did this against Chelsea. He was going up against Alonso and Conte on his side, where Kyle Walker-Peters is up against Newcastle. It's a whole different game, a whole different level of opponent. So I don't want to start, making that charge that Tripps needs to lose his spot because we lost to Chelsea 2-1.
It may not seem that he needs to lose his spot to Kyle Walker-Peters, but does it really beg that in the next 11 days of the transfer window, looking at a right back maybe needs to be priority? Or do you think that Tripps will come around once he gets over this injury fully?
I mean, I thought it was a priority before today's game. So, I mean, yeah, definitely. I still think it's a priority. And if anything, this performance showed that even more so, it needs to be a priority. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but Tripps came off a little injured at the end of it. Poch tried to play it down, but that's why Janssen came on because Tripps had signaled to the bench with just a couple minutes left saying that he needed to come off. So I don't know if that's going to be something to be worried about. Maybe we just rest him next week against Burnley and hope that after the international break he's full and ready to go again. I'm not sure, but did you guys catch that, how he was injured?
Yeah, he caught spikes to the Achilles, didn't he, in the box? Like tracking back for
yeah, it looked like
goal.
I didn't see what happened, but I saw him grimace, and it seemed like it was ankle. And that was one of the
Was that
injuries,
when
right?
Pedro ran into
Yes.
him?
Yes, that's exactly when it happened.
Fucking Batman wannabe.
Yeah, your chairs. When you look at the Alonso goal, the second one, Lloris looked as though he was in position, ready to try to take this on, and just maybe got caught awkward or something, or does he shut off a little bit in that instant, thinking he's going to cross this thing and really not have a shot from that angle? It's hard to surmise, right?
Well, yeah. So he's covering his front post, which is obviously his responsibility to do. And yeah, I saw someone make a comment on Twitter earlier that why didn't he use his legs to block it? Because it was a pretty fierce shot. It was low. It was on the ground, and you could tell he wanted to get his hands to it. And a lot of goalkeepers, they will use their legs in situations like that, as instinctively it might be less orthodox, but it's going to probably get you into a better position to get to the ball versus getting your upper body down with your arms. And so I can see that perspective. At the end of the day, he just didn't cover the shot, and it went under his body. And you really didn't see that until the reverse angle, and you could see from behind Alonso taking the shot that it was really not well saved.
Yeah. Cheers, 10 times in a season, how many times would you expect him to save that?
Probably 9 times out of 10. So there's the one that didn't. So
and it was against Chelsea. And in that situation.
I heard people again just absolutely slating him and giving him a hard time. And like, how many points did he save for us last year? And I think it was Europe when he pulled that ball back off the line. I mean, there was some fantastic.
Yeah, that was
saves.
against
I can't remember. Yeah,
that was against Leverkusen.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember them all, but you're a goalkeeper. You're gonna be on edge at some point in the season. You're gonna make an error, and unfortunately, it was at least it was 2 errors on 1 goal. You'd think one error, the other one would be ruled out, but rather than having 2 errors leading to 2 goals, it was 2 on 1.
And I suppose it's better that we're talking about this second game of the season as opposed to deep in the season where things are even more critical, right?
Yeah, and when this one came up, I just went, oh, woe is us, because I just think it's too early in the season for us having to get used to Wembley. And again, I know I'm saying what I kind of didn't say earlier, but it's not just the playing surface, it's the atmosphere, everything else. We need to get those matches under our belt before we play the big games. And, I think the players are professional enough to go out there and do the job, but maybe some of it did get to them still. And I don't know.
Do you reckon that's what Conte means when he was saying, I think it's just as much of an advantage for us to be here at Wembley than it is for Spurs to be calling this their home? I don't know what he meant by that, but maybe just as Simon was sort of sharing his thoughts there, maybe that's what he was saying.
Yeah, he did make mention that 77,000 people and 72,000 of them are Tottenham fans. It G's up the opponent as much as it does the home team. It is Wembley. It's a great stadium. There was a lot of singing. You could hear it on the TV. I thought that the crowd was very good. I won't say immense, but they were very good. Kept it rocking. And look, it's just one of those results that hopefully we don't have to look back on and say, man, if we would have kept to those that point, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in now at the end of the year. And these games come and they go throughout the year. They ebb and they flow. Timmy, you're kind of a formations guy, and you kind of like looking at the players. When Poch was making his subs, and we were kind of chasing the game there in the 70th, 75th minute, brings Sonny on. I thought he looked really well. Brings on Janssen, and we get the goal, the own goal from Batshuayi. Did it leave us either maybe in too much of an attacking mindset, and that's kind of how we got caught with this Alonso goal, or should there have been a defensive substitution once we got that goal?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it, but so when Sissoko came in for Davies, Vertonghen slid over to the left back spot. We went back to 4 at the back. Vertonghen slid over the left back, and Wanyama dropped in as a center back. And so I think it did leave us a little defensive. He wasn't able to pick up on Alonso. But, I mean, that's what I noticed on the formation, and I thought it was really interesting to see Wanyama drop into a center back role. I was a bit surprised by that. But, I mean, I get it. You're down 1-0 at that point. You got to go for it. So I do get the move, bringing on a more attacking-minded player and just going all out for it. I don't fault him at all for that.
Sammy, your lasting thoughts on this match? Any last words?
Oh my gosh!
Before we move on, I mean, I can only talk about this so much.
Yeah, a player that wasn't really talked about very much today in terms of his performance was Toby, and I've watched it almost 3 times. I mean, I think watched a couple times more when I got home, and I saw something today that I've never seen before, and it shocked me that it was Alvaro Morata that did it to him, but he got beat. He got beat down that left flank by a guy that's not a speedy guy. I don't know if you guys remember that late. That really surprised me. And to be fair, it was his fault. The first goal, he actually it was good movement, but when Morata missed his header, which should have been a goal, and that was Toby's fault. I mean, Harry Kane makes that. Most good strikers make that. That was a bit of a blunder header, and that was Toby out of position. So that's one thing that struck out at me. I really enjoyed "You're Just a Shit" sideshow Bob being sung at David Luiz today in the pub. That was pretty good. The Dyer tackle that got him a yellow stood out to me as pretty dangerous, and he was pretty lucky.
He was a very lucky boy.
He was a very lucky boy.
And then, as I said, I just such a shame, because I think it's what really, for me, makes the wounds fester even more, is that at 1-1, there was not I went into this game absolutely knowing we were going to win. At 1-1, I knew it. I was cool as a cucumber. When Alonso got that yellow, I thought, here we go, going to get a goal, for 90. And then it just fell apart.
Hey, let me ask you this, Sammy, because you watched the game a couple times, and I thought this when I saw it, but I wasn't sure because we didn't get to see the replay. When we give up that free kick for Alonso, did it look like Dele left his leg back trailing to intentionally trip up Luis? Because I thought he drug it a little bit and did that a little intentionally, it looked like.
Yeah, I think that could be argued. He didn't get a lot of him, and it's silly in that spot. And
just a little cheeky move, just to be a little bit of a bastard.
Yeah. I mean, when you slow-mo things right, it's kind of hard to see what somebody's intent is. But yeah, I mean, his leg was trailing there at the very, very end. And the other thing it speaks to, oh, you know what? I do have one other thing. 14 corners today and not a sniff on goal. And that's absolutely unacceptable. And then also, Chairs, you mentioned this, Hugo being a little bit out of position because you weren't sure who's going to take it, whether it's going to be Willian or whether it's going to be Alonso. Something to be said about having two guys that can take free kicks. We really only have one. And the other thing is Willian frightens me every time he gets the ball against us. He looks so dangerous.
Yeah, and to think that he was nothing more than an unused sub for parts of last year when they won the title. So he looked really well today. Chairs, officiating-wise, this has got to be a tough match for any officiating crew to take on. And it seemed like some players were able to do a little bit more in terms of getting chances over and over and over again. Bakayoko comes to mind for me. I thought he should have been carded at least once. After about the third or fourth time that he had some pretty aggressive challenges. Your overall thoughts on the refereeing for the match?
At first I thought he was just being a little too picky on everything for us and then not so much for them, but I think it evened out in the end, and it was certainly getting a little chippy, and I think he needed to get a grip on the match, and I think he did that probably by about the 30-minute mark. But it was definitely you could sense the tempers were starting to fray a little bit, particularly after they went ahead. And I thought Anthony Taylor did a very good job of getting it back under control. So I really don't have any complaints there, especially when, I think Dyer was lucky. I think the Tongan was lucky.
Yeah, he was.
His tackle too. So it almost reminded me of the match at the Bridge a couple of seasons ago, that it was going to end up that way. But, Fabregas wasn't out there, so... or Costa. So
we'll move on.
Things could have been different. Yeah,
we'll move on. 2-1 loss to Chelsea. And such is life, right? Two years ago, we are beating everybody outside the top five and not having a sniff, let alone a draw to anybody inside the top five. And now we're grossly disappointed at losing a match against the defending champions. So things are on the up. We have a big match against Burnley, again at Wembley, coming up, and we'll get into that shortly. But as this week wound down, something very interesting happened, and I don't know, Sam's allowed to change his underwear or shave or whatever it was now, because we actually signed somebody in the transfer window. Davinson Sanchez. And Tim, I'm going to start with you, and Sam, I'm going to let you expound, because the one name that we have signed was nowhere near the radar of the Hotspur America transfer window gurus when you guys were doing your spreadsheet. Who is this guy? Where is he coming from? And what can we expect?
I mean, I'll be honest, I had to Google it. Like
you and your pros.
No, but seriously, so when I watched Ajax in the Europa League final against Man United, I was looking at the player right next to him, Joel Veltman. That's the person who had been rumored. He had even said things in the media about how Tottenham's a great team. My wife wants to come to London. I would love to make the move. So I'm literally keyed in on the person right next to the player that we signed, not even worrying about Davinson Sanchez. And also Davy Klaassen. I was looking at him because his name had creeped up a little bit. So this
and De Ligt, right?
Do what?
And De Ligt, the other one. The young boy, yeah.
So this
three
guy
players. There were three Ajax players that we're looking at, none of which are Davinson.
And I think part of the reason is he'd only been there a year.
Yeah.
No one expects him to move after that short of a time with the team. But I mean, he did get the supporters player of the year. The supporters, Ajax supporters, voted him player of the year. So I mean, obviously he's got some quality. And at the beginning of the year, he wasn't a starter.
Yeah.
And he earned that spot. I listened to the Fighting Cockhead Priya Ramesh on.
She's good.
She was talking a little bit about him, and she said point blank, I mean, he's got talent, but he is very raw. And so, let's keep that in mind. This is a very, very raw player. When he came from Colombia, he was not a center back. He's been a center back for one season, but he's got the size and he's got the speed. And I think that speed will fit very well with our high line that we like to play, especially if we're wanting to do three center backs. Can you imagine 3 former Ajax center backs?
Yeah,
he's a bit of a gambler, though, isn't he?
Not this season. Maybe next season. Don't don't rush it. But yeah, he is a bit of a gambler. I like those. Look, all I've seen is YouTube clips, so I haven't. Obviously, we're not going to see his errors if he had any, but some of those tackles, I mean, a bit Ledley-esque.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed too. And